Hello. So for my project, I ended up doing it basically on Photoshop. Um, it started off as us trying to kind of mimic the Dove Real Beauty campaign, but once we ended up taking our photos and stuff, I was like, I don't really want to leave them unedited because I was more interested in the aspect of how, like in the media, photos turn out so different after people Photoshop them. So a little background, I'm sure we're all familiar with Photoshop. It was created in 1990. There's been about 14 versions, I think. And obviously it's used globally and there's some really cool stuff done with it, but recently a lot of people have been like, stopped using Photoshop and all these models and stuff because it's creating like low like body image, self-esteem and stuff among a lot of people who view these images and are like, why don't I look like that? So a few examples of how crazy Photoshop can be is like, where is her arm? And then they Photoshopped a 2-year-old. So it's kind of crazy. And then these are kind of the campaigns that I originally based it off of. The first one, they stopped using Photoshop and their sales increased like 20% and then 30% because they were using like more real people. And then also the Dove campaign as well. Now that I had like why I was interested and kind of like what Photoshop is, I wanted to learn how to do it. So I made this infographic on how I learned how to do it. Started with the photos. Some of them I took, some of them I had from other projects, and some of them I found on the internet. I obviously installed Photoshop, and then I Googled a bunch of techniques, and I watched a bunch of tutorials on how it was done. And then the main thing that I kind of highlighted is that the best thing to do is just to kind of experiment and play around. And I failed a lot at first, which you'll see, but then some of them turned out pretty okay. Okay, that was my first fail. I don't know if you can see, but her face is pretty yellow, and then her like eyeshadow is like orange. And her lips are also orange. And it doesn't look right, and I only ended up doing half of her face. And this one was also a fail. The image on the left is the girl before makeup. In this picture I found on the internet. The image on the right was her after makeup, and the middle one was me kind of trying to mimic the one on the right. I don't know where her nose went, kind of blended in, and then her face is really uneven. This one was a little better that I did, and these are in chronological order of like the ones I photoshopped. This one is a little better. I wouldn't be completely happy with it, but it looks quite a few steps better than the first two. I photoshopped my own face. I wanted to experiment with photoshopping both in like sunlight and then also in this picture it's the shadow. So I photoshopped her with the freckles just for fun. I got rid of her eyebrow hairs. Not because you should Photoshop people, but because I wanted to learn how. And the challenge for me on this one is to keep the shadow looking normal while still getting both areas. I photoshopped the zebra just for fun. And then this was the one that took me the longest. I'm not completely satisfied with it. I kind of kept playing with it after I screenshotted this. But the image in the middle, I found this one on the internet as well that someone did like professionally. The image in the middle is her before Photoshop. The image on the right is her after Photoshop. And the image on the left is the one I did, trying to sort of take inspiration from and mimic the one on the right. And that was my second attempt where I added like her neck back in, because if you see on this one, it kind of blended in. And then the last thing is I have this video. This is the first part of kind of how I photoshopped the girl. The length, like the time it took me to do the very first part, like just her skin and her eyes, was 22 minutes. But I sped it up times 800, and now it's about 2 minutes. So I'll show you that.
Fantastic.
I use the screen capture.
Cool. So if you want to go full screen, you have to get out of, go to YouTube. And then,
we won't watch all of it, but I'll show you kind of what I did.
whoa.
Sorry, it might make you a little dizzy, but I'll skip over the weird part.
No, it's just cool. Completely different person.
Yeah. If you can see, I like whenever I do something weird, like one part I accidentally like blown her nose. You kind of have to go back and keep, yeah, right there. Keep redoing stuff.
Wow.
Takes a lot of layers. And the main thing, if you're trying to do this, like, the two tips I'd have would be to change your opacity so that you're not drawing like thick black lines, and to remember like the natural highlight or whatever. Wait, let me skip ahead. Oh, and then the hardest part was the eyelashes. Probably should have stopped there because they started looking kind of funky, but I just wanted to keep experimenting with it. So yeah. And I did not have a Wacom tablet for this, so it was extremely difficult. I was just using like the trackpad on a laptop. Yeah, don't do that.
How did you even do what you did?
I don't know. But yeah, this part I'm keeping kind of the natural like highlights on like the lash line or whatever.
All right, so you all know how to go for your senior photos, right? Just
Yeah. Hit me up for Photoshop. Okay. That's all.
It counts.
There's like more at the end, but it's getting kind of long. I still don't know where Rachel is.
I still don't know what Rachel.
Oh yeah, just what I learned. Do both sides of the face at the same time. Don't set the mode to overlay. Make sure that when you use the brush tool, your setting is on normal, because otherwise it'll just make them orange. Use a Wacom tablet. That would be all. Okay, thank you.
and then to stop your video recording, you have this little square up here. You just